Angelica Clarke at the Mother Earth Cafe in Albany, New York. And Angelica, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm the executive director at the Albany Social Justice Center. That just started recently. And I'm also an organizer for the Graduate Student Employees Union at SUNY Albany. And what we're going to talk about today is that I'm an organizer with a group called Capital Area Against Mass Incarceration.
All right. Who is your greatest influence, Angelica? Who is your greatest influence?
My greatest influence is probably, well, locally at least, is probably Naomi Jaffe. She's an organizer, a longtime prison justice organizer, and just an awesome woman. And we've been organizing together for a few years, and she's also at the Social Justice Center with me. She's on the board of directors, and her organizing and her skills are just beyond, and she's taught me a lot in terms of like becoming a better organizer and becoming a better facilitator. So she's definitely, I think, my biggest influence right now.
I like Naomi. We like Naomi. That's good. Why Black Lives Matter? Why, Angelica? Why?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons that Black Lives Matter. I think one being the most basic, that I'm a human being and I'm black and I matter. But also, we have a system right now that's operating that says that black lives don't matter. And sort of the point of the movement, right, is to say that actually black power is important, black liberation is important, and it's time that we make visible all these systems that work against black people. So the prison system, the system of policing that exists in this country, is built on a foundation of, slavery. The founding of this country is built on the economic exploitation of black and native people. And that's really what this movement is all about, is to say that we have a history that we need to address, and we need to start transforming these systems that are not working for any people, but especially not black people.
Very direct, very powerful. Good answer. Angelica, how would you deal with Sheldon Silver if the final decision was up to you? Misappropriation of funds and things like that. How would you deal with that?
I don't know, because I think that Shelley is like a lot of the other people in the Capitol right now. He's not the only person that's misused funds. He's certainly not the only person that's taken a bribe or a favor. I think that it's pretty clear in this state where you have billions of dollars in corporate cutbacks every year, that he's not the only one taking a little bit of scratch. But I mean, what are we going to do? What I would like to do, right, would just be to get them all out and replace them with a system that's actually democratic and actually offers communities the opportunity to take control of the policies that they have to live under. So I really could, honestly, I could care less about what's going on with Shelley right now.
Okay. Angelica, how many direct actions have you been a part of, involved with?
I've been a part of, let's see, in terms of arrest, I'd say more than 5. And I've done a lot of arrestable actions that didn't end in arrest, either because we got away or because just the circumstances made it so that we couldn't be arrested at that time. But I'd say more than 5, maybe less than 15.
life less than 15. We're working on it though. We're gonna bring that number up.
Yeah, it's going up.
How do you feel about compulsory education?
I feel really good about compulsory education. I think that it's great that we have education in this country that's public and free, at least for some people in some places. And it would be great if it were actually that way in all places, and if it were equitable. And if in some ways the schools weren't trying to prepare kids to go to prison instead of going to college or going on to a good job. I think that it's great that we have this free high school, free elementary school, and those are things that people fought for, in sort of the history of labor. But I think that as we see right now, they've been pretty heavily eroded. So, I think it's great that we have it and that it's meant to be free, but we need to really change the way that we fund it.
Angelica, what country should we here become more like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'd want to take pieces from a lot of different countries. I think that when I think about healthcare, the first country that comes to mind is Cuba, because they have an excellent medical school. All of Latin America sends their students to go become medical doctors in Cuba. And I think that that's something that we could really learn from, because they focus on preventative care rather than treatment of disease, which is something that we're really lacking in. Like, we don't really offer preventative care here, partially because nobody has adequate insurance, and also because corporations are in control of the healthcare system. So that's one place that I definitely want to look to for a model for healthcare. And I think there are countries like the Netherlands, when you think about higher education, that offer free quality public higher education for all people that are there. And even folks who are from other countries who come in, which we could certainly learn a lesson from, as a place that's notoriously against people coming in. Even though we colonized this country and took it over from people who are already living here, we now no longer want to let people in. So I think that's another place that we could get a lot of lessons from. And then not a country, but an autonomous zone. I would say the liberated zones that the Zapatistas live on is a great place for us to learn from, because if we're thinking about our education system, that's really where we want to go and look to.
Yeah. I like that. What responsibility do white Americans have here in the belly of the beast? What responsibility do white people have in regards to the Black Lives Matter and the entire revolution we are conducting?
I think they have a responsibility to support the work that's being done by Black and other people of color in this country. I think that ultimately liberation for Black people is going to assist in liberation of all people, but I don't think that the leadership for such a movement should come from white folks who are of the oppressor nation in this country and globally. I think that it is people who are oppressed people, Black and brown people, who will be the ones who provide the example and provide the opportunities for white folks to engage. But I also think it's important, and it's a responsibility for them to start educating each other about white privilege, about imperialism, about white supremacy, so that they can start to unlearn those systems and start to become comfortable with a world where actually Black people and brown people and all types of people are allowed to live free, which is not the one that we have right now. So just really starting to get a better understanding of what privilege means and working with each other to get that understanding instead of seeking that knowledge from Black and brown people who need to really be organizing each other rather than focusing on organizing other white people.
I think these are good questions. A good answer. Better answer.
These are good questions.
These are good questions.
Yeah. Unexpected, but I like it.
Yeah, sometimes we get surreal, sometimes we direct. Do you care to mention anything about the Social Justice Center and or your involvement in it? Or it's up to you if you're not.
Totally. So at the Social Justice Center, I'm the executive director now, and we're basically transitioning out of a director that we had for 10 years. And the work that we do there is supporting radical community activism, but also supporting community events, things like poetry readings, concerts, small musical events, movie showings. We do a lot in the space, and really it's meant to be a resource for folks who are interested in doing radical organizing. So you can actually stop by and talk to us. Either right now it's myself and a couple of other folks who are sort of doing the open hours for the center, and you can come in and talk to us, or you can email us, or go to our website or to our Facebook and see all the events that are going on. We have a ton of member groups in the space. Folks like the Solidarity Committee, Mommy Interpreters, which is a statewide organization, the Citizen Environmental Coalition. Like, there are a lot of different organizations that call the center home. And then there also are smaller grassroots groups like the Capital Area Against Mass Incarceration that I'm a part of, the Organization for a Free Society, Jewish Voices for Peace. So there are a lot of folks that use the space, and we really actually are looking for a lot of new people who want to come in, particularly young people who want to come and start taking advantage of this resource that we have in the community. It's right on Central Ave at 33 Central Avenue, right by Henry Johnson, and we really want to see more people in there making use of it. And we're going to really start putting out the call for people to come in and help us decide what our next steps are going to be, and help us really decide what our role is going to be moving forward. So we hope to get more people in the space, and hope that hearing about it makes you a little interested, and you at least check us out, like our Facebook page or whatever, and come to some of our events.
At least. Bare minimum. At least that.
I mean, something, guys.
Yeah, no, it's true, yeah. Shout out to Tori.
Exactly. Victoria Reyes.
Social justice.
Yes.
Naomi Jeff. As an activist, what do you feel about the current state of Native American First Nation people in New York, so-called New York State, and here in Albany? Like, how do you feel about that?
I feel like First Nation people in Albany and in New York State in general don't really get to engage as much with, particularly with some radical activism, but just socially in general. I mean, we hear a lot about folks who are out in Syracuse who do organizing against fracking and other environmental organizing, but we don't really hear in Albany about what Native people are looking for, what their needs are, or even what organizing they're doing. So I actually, this is something that has recently come up, especially around doing this organizing around police brutality, because Native people are actually the people who experience the highest incidence of brutality in terms of population and percentage, and they're killed by police at higher percentages than even black people. And of course, they are currently existing as the people who have been the victims of genocide in this country. So I really would love to engage more with Native people and sort of see where their interests are and what their needs are in this movement, because it's something that often gets overlooked that we need to really work on.
Wait.
This is good stuff. This is powerful. Revolutionary fervor. This is good. This is good. Suddenly, I don't know if it was a conversation or
Turn the fan off. Yeah, right. It's really getting high.
No, I love it when Rosa Clemente or my friend Ori they'll put on. It's turn up time, like there'll be an activity, and they'll be like, it's turn up time, I just hear music, hear Lil Jon, that's what has to be done. Like, it's like that. We have to keep that, make it fashionable, keep it, like you said, make it,
like the last one she went to.
Make it like catchy, make it cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think actually the movement is pretty cool, right? Like that's I think what's funny about this work now is because it's the demonstration that we've been able to activate this whole set of people that otherwise don't really come out for stuff, partially because the movements don't really speak to them. And I think that this movement as as a turn-up movement, it's like actually there's a crisis going on, and we're ready to create that crisis, and we want to make it visible to all those who usually get the luxury of not dealing with it. I think it's awesome because we've been able to bring in all these musicians, locally, especially musicians and poets have been coming out, and they want to use their art to do this work. And I think that's what makes it unique. I think that's what makes it unique. movement, and partially, you know, it's, as a black power movement, you know, it's going to be a little bit more, you know, it's going to be a little bit more of a turn up, a little bit more. It's like a space for kind of more reckless creative energy and like you know attitude to actually come to the forefront and have a place than the more conservative well, conservative's not the right word, but the more mainstream like leftist movements are predominantly white and don't often make space for those kinds of like
and I think from my own personal experience, I wasn't able, even trying, not able to identify with, or not even feeling part of certain movements. So I totally identify with the need for a turnout.
Right, because that's what people actually want to do. Yeah, because they're like, oh, I don't want to like go out and whatever, you know, just like hold a sign or something. You know, I want to make it clear. I want people to know that like I'm here to turn up and like I'm here because this shit is important. And that's what I think we've been able to do is like create the space for that to happen.
Still rolling?
Yeah.
Well, we'll edit out whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get the best parts, right? The best.
Only the best.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I want to, but
that's what's exciting about it. This time, because it almost feels like I was around in Albany for Diallo. I'm going to Diallo.
Yes.
And getting away with it. I'm going to dinner with the judge. I mean, it's really insanity. And they thought, most people thought by moving the trial from like New York to Albany, that it would lessen awareness or it would be popular. But we gave it help. We made it loud and clear and known to the world. We were opposed to, you know, to the murder. We were opposed to letting the cops off. We gave them help.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and I actually read something recently about that trial and about why they moved it to Albany. And they had an article basically talking about Jesse Davis, who was killed in Albany by the cops, by Albany PD. He was actually a mentally disabled man, and he was killed in his home. Like, and they had all these pictures came out after they got off of him like holding two toys, like when he was killed. So he's killed and he's got these two little toys because he was he was mentally disabled, but they just, killed him anyway. And that was sort of part of why, in his home, and that's part of how that trial got up here, because this is a place where, essentially, right, a safe haven for police who want to engage in any kind of behavior they can. Albany, like, anybody who sort of looks at statistics in terms of, like, incarceration rates and arrest rates, can see that Albany is actually one of the worst places in the country to be a black or brown person. And just because you're way more likely to be targeted for arrest and for
longer jail sentences, harsher sentences.
Yeah, I mean that's true everywhere, but in Albany it's just so disproportionately so that it's almost unbelievable. Right? Like,
yeah. Is this so? That would segue into Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow. Why don't you give your interpretation of the new Jim Crow and what that means to you?
Yeah, so to me, the new Jim Crow is sort of a reflection of the system of mass incarceration that we now have that began in the early 1970s and continues to today, and sort of escalates, it seems, every year, which is essentially like just a sort of separation of people via the criminal justice system. So Jim Crow would be a system of laws that codifies the separation and segregation of black people and all people of color and white people. And the prison system seems to do the same thing. The policing system seems to do the same thing, which is why I think that Jim Crow is the term that was coined to describe this system that incarcerates, by outlandish percentages, people of color and black people especially, and it also kind of speaks to the allowance that people have for increased levels of brutality against black people and brown people without sort of really noticing it or without seeing it as an issue. So even if we have a place like Albany, right, where you have like over 60% of people who are arrested or convicted are black or brown, in a place where it's the percentage of white people here is much higher than that, and yet we have a system that actually is sort of being allowed to function as if everything is okay, which is heavily segregated. We have a DA who is sort of more progressive than past DAs have been, And yet we just saw this story of Marquise Dixon, who was sentenced to many years in prison for stealing sneakers.
A 17-year-old?
And yeah, I believe he was
16-year-old.
16 or 17, and then you had sort of a case that was put in relief with that, the Times Union, of a man who pulled out the teeth of his toddler, who was given a very short sentence for that. And this is just sort of par for the course as to what's happening in Albany courts. And that really is what the new Jim Crow is that black and brown people are subject to harsher punishments for much lesser crimes, and that's just the norm. That's not something that people didn't, it happens every single day. Like, people don't rise up against what seems to be normal, and that's really what the new Jim Crow is all about, is that it's a state of normalcy, just like the Jim Crow system was a state of normalcy until people said it wasn't going to work for them anymore. So I think that's really what we're doing now, is saying that it's no longer working, and we're willing to make it visible to people who otherwise wouldn't have had to see it or care about it.
What's so special about Canada? I mean, what's really, because, a lot of people are puzzled. I have a lot, we get into these debates, and some people just go, Canada. What do you like about Canada?
What do I like about Canada? I guess in relation to this, what's special about Canada is that it doesn't have a foundation of black slavery in its economy.
That's it.
So that's sort of why people often uplift Canada as this place that's so awesome and amazing. But if you look at if you look at the subjugation of Native people in Canada, it suddenly becomes a different picture. Because you have a place that's built on a foundation of slavery of Native people rather than black people, which for many people who live under colonialism in the present day, think is not a problem. You don't even think about it when you're talking about like who might be, disenfranchised by a system. You don't even consider whether First Nations people are disenfranchised by a system, which is part of why people always look to Canada as this like bastion of liberal good in terms of their healthcare system, education system, et cetera, without ever considering what's happening to the Native populations, which are subjugated in the same way that they are in the U.S.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about yesterday. Kalunat, which is how the Inuit people address white settlers. They say, they made a documentary called Why White People Are Funny, and it starts talking about how Native people would never dare to go to someone else and ask them how many people were born in their village this year, what their number was, these insane concepts that European people actually imposed on them, that they would never even dare to put on anyone else. So this is an interesting time where we're actually questioning what the hell is going on here and Canada. Damn Canada, damn it. I thought you were better than that. See, it's weird. It's like, they're great because they don't have black slavery in Canada, but they're bad because they have Inuit, genocide, cultural assimilation, whitewashing. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It has to be addressed.
Yeah, I actually saw this article, which is probably not going to be relevant, but I saw this article and then a little video clip about Saskatchewan and about some people that live in essentially like an island, and they have to basically the only way to get food or anything onto it is you have to take a boat or a plane. So the food prices there are so astronomical, they're like 10 times the price. Like cereal is like $15.
Sounds like
and
Hawaii.
all Native people, the only people that live there are Native people. So they're paying these like exorbitant prices for food and for every other resource, and they're like there aren't really jobs there. There aren't really any other kind of economic development, but they just have to sort of live under the system that says because we have to transport your food in, so it's like whatever the cost of transportation, gas, all those things are more expensive. Now all your food prices are going to be outlandish, even though you're still being paid sort of the normal salary that other people would be getting paid if they didn't live in this sort of weird isolated island territory.
Which they are native to.
Which they're native to, exactly. Which they're native to, but it certainly doesn't look like it did when they were native to it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we got a lot of footage there.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm like,
All right, now off the record.
You press the button if you're going to say off the record. No.
He's so happy though. If you watch any of our shows, he will just let the camera go. I mean, he's got a guy going. Hey, does your dad still live on Colvin? Like, I saw that, right? he's recording all of that. I'm like, oh my God. You know what? This part's not going on the show. Okay? Better make for damn sure. So let's press one.
Okay, what are you going to ask?
No, I mean, not ask.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. To wrap it up.
How do we edit it where at some point where you just, is there a way to do that? To zoom onto just her when she's doing the answer?
There's a zoom button.
No, I mean in the editing, in the post.
Yes.
We could crop out.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's wrap it up. And this is Albany News World saying we're the best show on cable TV. Thank you, Angelica Clarke. Pow! Alex Stokes, thank you.
5 years ago today, the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission overturned the McCain-Feingold Campaign Finance Act and opened the floodgates for unlimited election spending by artificial persons, corporations, and associations. In doing so, it enabled the sound generated by legal fictions to drown out the voices of everyday citizens, natural persons, those whom our Constitution was enacted to protect and serve.
We do not believe that we are powerless here in New York State to do more than we have done about unlimited corporate influence and corporate money in politics.
Incarceration. I'm sorry. So talk so much about corporations, right? Capital area against mass incarceration. Angelica?
I'm Angelica, and I'm from Capital Area Against Mass Incarceration, and today we're going to be out here rallying also. So we just want to be here to stand in solidarity because the work that we're doing in the Black Lives Matter movement and the movement against mass incarceration and the movement, for Black lives is rooted in self-determination, it's rooted in autonomy, it's rooted in community control, and those are all things that can't be achieved under corporate democracy. They can't be achieved with corporations have the same status under the law, not just as people, but as elites. So it's not just sort of people like you or I aren't at the same status as these corporations that we're all here talking about. And we're standing in solidarity because we're both seeking freedom from that corporate greed. Controlling the priorities of our government, because those things help produce things from unequal housing, unequal health care, to the militarization of the police. So we're here standing in solidarity with you today for that reason, and we also are asking you, inviting you to join us at 12:15 for a march that's going to start from the Madison Avenue side of the concourse. And we hope to see you all there. Thank you.
So here we are, 5 years after the Citizens United decision. What have we learned? How is it working? Is it living up to the expectations of the Supreme Court majority? The court said, we now conclude that independent expenditures, including those that are made by corporations, do not give rise to corruption or the appearance of corruption. Or have we fulfilled Justice Stevens' concerns in his dissenting opinion? He argued that the court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation.
At a time when our political system already has been turning off too many people and too much power has been concentrated in moneyed interests, Citizens United has just made a very bad situation much, much worse.
Keep pounding away at this. I actually hope I am not back here in 5 years for the 10-year anniversary. No offense to any of you. But thank you again. Really appreciate your efforts.
Millions upon millions of dollars was spent to drown out all but the corporate message.
So let me give you a concrete example. Flame retardants. You all know what flame retardants are? So they're chemicals that were marketed to stop fires. shows that they don't actually work at stopping fire, and yet they're pervasive in almost every piece of furniture that you will sit on that has foam in it. And these chemicals are linked to cancer. These chemicals are linked to learning disabilities, lower IQ in kids that are exposed to them in the womb, attention disorders, early puberty, male infertility. And when California tried to restrict two of these most dangerous chemicals, the corporations, they didn't just get mad. They started spending money. They spent $23.2 million. $23.2 million. Not on trying to clean up their act, but on trying to change the law so that they could keep selling those toxic chemicals. Political spending, that was just in California. At the federal level, we have a law called the Toxic Substances Control Act. It's fundamentally broken. When the EPA tried to use that law to regulate asbestos, a chemical that has a disease named after it because it kills people. The EPA found that it didn't have the authority under that law to actually regulate asbestos. So it's time to change that law. And our Congress members right now are looking at trying to change that law. And there was a really good bill called the Safe Chemicals Act that had widespread public health and environmental support. It would actually fix the problem so that the EPA could do something about asbestos. And the other 80,000 chemicals that have gone untested virtually. But over the past couple of years, the chemical industry has spent, we don't know for sure, because it's hidden, but anywhere, the estimates are between $2.2 and $6 million. Between $2.2 and $6 million just from the chemical industry. And as a result, the Safe Chemicals Act, nobody talks about that anymore because the chemical industry came with their own bill called the Chemical Safety Improvement Act. And that's the vehicle that's moving through Congress right now, paid for by the chemical industry. What the Supreme Court did with Citizens United was more than opening the door to undoing democracy. They also opened a potential floodgate of new chemical health threats. It's time for a constitutional amendment to level the playing field. It's time to protect our health by overturning Citizens United. Thank you.
Of his $40 million that he's raised come from donors who gave him $10,000 or more. So let me say that again. 80% of Governor Cuomo's donors gave him $10,000 or more. Howie Hawkins, who just spoke, had more donors than Governor Cuomo in his campaign, but they didn't give him $10,000 or more. So what that means is that when Governor Cuomo makes his State of the State address today, when he makes his policy decisions, when the elected officials here in Albany make their policy decisions, they have to listen to those donors. So Governor Cuomo is launching a huge attack against the public education system in New York today. Why is he doing that? He's doing that because of the hedge fund donors who told him to do it. Governor Cuomo refused to step up for meaningful campaign finance reform. Why did he do that? He did that because the donors that are making his campaign wouldn't want it. He ended the Moreland Commission because what would it do? It would shine a light on the corruption, the legal corruption that includes him in the political scene. There are fantastic people here in Albany. We heard a lot of them speak here today, and they're working to fight the fight the way we would have it. But for us to win on issues like Joe talked about, like Anjay and Angelica, on civil rights, on workers' rights, on environmental justice, and climate change, and other issues that affect our future, We can't win as long as the game is stacked against us as everyday New Yorkers. So we're here today because we are hacking at the root, because we understand that money in politics is the root issue that we must address if we are going to have workers' rights, if we are going to have civil rights, if we are going to have environmental rights.